You know that thing you do when you put a ship in a bottle, and then it's in a bottle, and you're like, hey, look, I put a ship in a bottle. Oh, great. The ship is in a bottle now. Man, she's beautiful. The Caladbog. I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about the Dingwall. Not that ship. That ship. Welcome to Under the Twin Moons. This is the second episode of the final season of Star Trek Discovery. This episode is very much a continuation from the previous episode, as are all episodes now, because we're basically watching a 10-hour or so long movie. But this one specifically is such a tonal shift that you have to imagine it's a palate cleanser. It's meant to be watched after the first one. If this was the first episode, it would be, ominous. But it's not. The first episode was alright, so let's take a breather. Did we earn it? That depends on you. What's going on with this episode? Everybody's finding their place. You see, we're giving everyone their job to do this season. And that means everyone gets their screen time. Everyone gets a scene. Everyone is told what they need to be doing. And when you're just making a checklist for an episode like this, oftentimes it gets a little awkward, especially with this type of storytelling, the one big movie type thing. Awkward. Let's see why in a moment. This episode begins with a captain's log type thing, from Michael Burnham. The usual bit. Answers. I need answers. I'm confused. What mostly I get from this captain's log from Michael Burnham is that she may be having misgivings about this mission. There's something that's, something missing. There's a piece of the puzzle missing. This season is very much going to be puzzle piece finding, like a slick but ultimately forgettable TV show from the 2000s, if you know what I'm talking about. There's another piece to this puzzle. There's breadcrumbs. There's mystery. Yay. And each individual episode, you'll realize in hindsight, is unwatchable alone. Although I would say this season so far is far from unwatchable. So don't get me wrong. Saru comes in. Yada, yada, yada. We're pulling the ship in slow. It sounds like somebody's trying to slow up their final mission. By the way, this is Saru's last day. When you say something is someone's last day, as in a dangerous space mission on an alien world with unknown threats, to me that equates to this character is going to die. This is Saru's last day. What happens in the last day? You die. You either die in the first one or the last one. It's just poetic that way. You see, it's romantic, and not in the kissy way. I have to wonder though, if we're setting this up now. We're kind of setting up a Chekhov's gun, pun intended, Chekhov's phaser, under the table. We know there's death on the line. Saru's just about quitting. Is he going to die in the last episode? It's the last season. It can't be very fun to put all those prosthetics on and that makeup. I have to imagine he wants out. Let's be real. I suppose this type of thing gets very tiring. 5 seasons? The last one? Are we saying goodbye to Saru? Is this it? You're killing a fan favorite character. If you can kill them in the right way, I'd say it's probably the good time to do it. If there can be a good time to kill a character, you know what I mean. Are we going to kill him? There's a prediction. We have to go to a planet called Lyric. That's our next destination. That's the next place we have to go on this fetch quest. But before that, we have to have a little debriefing about what happened last episode. And I love to see it. All too often, something insane happens in Star Trek that Starfleet's going to be mad about, and they just kind of ignore it. And you're wondering, where's the follow-up? Well, we got it this time. It's just not that great, right? Last episode, we had the Red Directive, which we find out now is not a special thing, and there's actually all kinds of Red Directives. And Rayner has been on multiple. So now I'm more inclined to agree with Rayner here. Rayner and Burnham, since they were on the mission last episode, are being grilled by Rillak and Vance, and was your course of action right? In the field, Burnham disagreed with setting off the avalanche. Rayner wanted to do it. They went with Rayner. It didn't destroy the village, but it gave someone an idea to attack the avalanche and threaten the village. I know you didn't steal that car. You looked at that car, you touched it, you gave someone the wrong idea, and then they stole that car. You're in trouble. I'm reducing it a lot there. But when Starfleet is involved, and they had not been there, otherwise the village would have been safe, it changes things a little bit. I'm just giving you both sides here. Rayner is in trouble because he gave Moll and Lack a bad idea. There was some disagreement. Like I said last episode, the protocol, the chain of command was not made clear to me. It sounds like a mess up on Vance's part in that regard. Forgetting that for a moment, the sum total of this whole event here is that Rayner is in trouble. Rayner got the bad end of the stick here, and he's been asked to take a early retirement. Imagine you're in his shoes. I probably would have said, "Listen, this Kovich guy, yeah, you know him. He said he's not at liberty to discuss the nature of this particular red directive." And when we were talking to him last episode, the other day, it seemed very clear and very direct, and he was sending a very obvious signal that people's lives did not matter. Finding this thing, completing the red directive, as it were, is beyond protecting the crew and other people. I got that vibe. Did you get that last episode? Okay, I'm Rayner. I'm not going to sit here and be grilled by you two unless Kovich is right here. I want Kovich right here to explain what was going on with the red directive to everyone in here. He's not at liberty to discuss it. Does the president know? I want the president to find out now if she doesn't know. And I want everybody in this room to be able to grill Kovich on whether or not it was okay to risk that village on Kamau. Okay? The way he was talking last episode, it sounded like it didn't matter. Okay? Now, I know and you know that it always matters to protect these people. But I want Kovich here too, just to be fair. Don't I have that right? I'm calling on Kovich. Get in here, Kovich. You tell me what's going on with this red directive. And you tell the audience too. That's just something I was feeling. But Rayner's been asked to give, offer an early resignation, which is a way to say, if you resign now, we'll let you go because we like you and Vance likes you and you have years of distinguished service. According to you, you're coming from this wartime federation and you're no longer wanted in this reformed federation, blah, blah, blah. No. Well, the last 2 seasons of Discovery have made it very clear to me that the Federation is not really at war. It seemed like they were hiding. That's the vibe I got. They were like on the back foot, kind of, subterfuge in a manner of speaking. This whole war thing, I'm not sure. Maybe it'll be fleshed out in a flashback. There's a good idea. Let's have an episode that takes place in the past, and we get to see some ships before Season 3 of Discovery and see like an early Rayner. That might be cool. Here's looking forward to it, and here's looking forward to, not forward to the inevitable disappointment when that doesn't come. So Rayner is basically out of commission this episode, and maybe his commission is gone as well in Starfleet, in a manner of speaking. We need to go to this planet Lyric, and we find out that literally in the shadow of the twin moons is not just poetry. It's real. So color me shocked. They meant that these 2 moons actually create like a double eclipse on this one spot on this planet. Very cool. It's not just something that somebody wrote there because it sounded good. It had prose, in a manner of speaking. It was actually literal. So the Lyric, I guess, is the only planet where this can be the case. And underneath this, every 7 years, when these 2 moons create this eclipse on this spot, guess what? There's a structure there. Bingo, baby! That's got to be the spot where we need to go, right? On this quest. We're following in the footsteps of a secretive Romulan character who, very much like a scientist, hid things and did it in a way that it kind of feels like a game show or something, or an Easter egg hunt, or something that you would put together for kids if you were a history teacher, to make it interesting, right? Interesting for the audience. That's what Dr. Velick did. He's one hell of a scientist. Hey, you'll find the secret you want lies in the place where you most want to find it, kids. Ding. I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth, because this isn't that bad, but it smacks of writing conventions that are old, dated, cliche, and are a little bit corned up. We're going down to the planet, and we realize that this is a Promelian burial site, essentially a necropolis, as they said. That's a place where you bury a lot of dead people, or in this case, a lot of dead Promelians, depending on your definition of people. Promelians were introduced in TNG, the episode Booby Trap, and I don't think they had 4 eyes at that time. The Promelian statues in this world have 4 eyes, it appears. Maybe it's just an artistic flourish, but they look like they had 2 back in TNG. I don't know. We're always redesigning aliens here. And you can tell that the reason I'm bringing this up is because there's statues all over this world, and there's a big hand sticking out of the ground. The statue, what I assume is a Promelian hand. Man, I was so excited. I was so excited for that hand to move and to reveal there's a giant Promelian living statue thing on this planet that they have to contend with. That would have been so sick. Oh, man. But that's not what happens. And they're kind of baiting you into it, too. We're wandering around here because of the strong electromagnetic field. We have to, beam in a little bit of ways from where we need to go. Classic Star Trek, we need to beam you down like 10 minutes away from where you need to be, and you need to run there. So you can have action scenes. Action Saru from this episode. Wink, wink. If you've seen it, people have given Saru the nickname Action Saru after he did that cool thing with these quills, which was cool. And it is cool to have an alien that has a built-in projectile weapon. Besides that, we do go on a little adventure walking where we need to go on this planet. And, of course, we're going to have a little scene where Saru gets to tell Michael about how great she is. Michael, you're the greatest person I've ever known. It's been an honor to be around you, and I'm sad I have to go. Normally, I hate this kind of self-congratulatory discovery writing stuff that you've no doubt noticed, and it's, a little bit... But it hits a little different when this is A, the last season, and B, nominally, Saru's last day. It hits a little different, if we're honest with ourselves, and I'm trying to be honest here. Maybe we deserve a little bit of self-congratulations for getting to the finish line. We got to the finish line. We do see a statue of a 4-eyed head of what I assume is a Promelian. And the eyes. What's going on with the eyes? The eyes are moving. It looks like it's waking up. I was so excited. I was so ready to have that thing wake up and move around and be a giant. But no. The eyes were drones. It looks like they're rolling over, these eyes, these spherical drones. No doubt designed to look like it's waking up. The spherical drones leave the eye sockets and fly around like this is that episode, Arsenal of Freedom. And we're running around in the forest shooting at drones, if you remember TNG Arsenal of Freedom. So far with Discovery, we're getting a lot of TNG, a lot of Picard. And you're going to see how we get more Picard in a moment. Vance, Rayner, Tilly, what are we going to do? We're phoning home. ET's phoning home. We're trying to figure this out. Rayner comes in and he says, and this is basically a little, he's putting together an interview. This is like his resume. This is his highlight reel to see if you're willing to accept him as first officer. That's what this scene is. And he has a completely pointless argument with Tilly and Adira about what did Promelians do in 2,000 years ago? Lang cycle. I saw that episode of TNG. They mentioned Lang cycle. Old technology. How does that work? Oh yeah, electromagnetic fields. Like the one we try to avoid when we beam down. Maybe that's powering it. So what do you assume you would have to do? If you were you, and you were only as knowledgeable as you are now, being what I assume is a human from the past, What would you think you'd have to do? Well, maybe we'll destroy the little device that the drones call home, the little storage unit that the drones come out of. Maybe if we destroy that, that will destroy the drones. And all that nonsense about electromagnetic field, Lang cycle coming back, and talking to Rayner about getting into the mind of someone from thousands of years ago. Maybe that was all just bluster. Maybe that was pointless. Maybe that was Rayner selling himself to us as first officer potential. And maybe we just need to throw our set our phasers to overload and throw it in the ports where the drones came out of and blow up their kind of little home base. That would be your first assumption, and that turns out to be the case. We can do a little Star Trek phaser blow up and destroy the little center that the drones come out of, and bing, bang, boom, Bob's your uncle, the drones are dead. That's all we had to do. The argument, we didn't learn anything, really. It sounded like we learned something, but we really didn't, because the first guess was right. Just destroy the thing they came out of. Big whoop. So, yeah, that was kind of boring. It was boring, interesting when you first watch it, boring on repeat when you realize what's going on. All we had to do was destroy the thing the drones come out of. But Saru and Burnham, which are the only two people that beam down here, by the way, that's a little bit suspicious, find a statue, and dialogue ensues where we recall the events of Picard Season 1, and the inventions of that season being that Romulans are so secretive, and they have this secret stuff that goes into their personal life, and yada yada yada, and they're writing things on here, and it's missing a verse, and we have to hide the verse, and we have to read a poem, and then they have a fake door in front of their house because Picard Season 1 stuff happened, and then, oh, maybe if we move the statue, and they figure out by looking at a poem on the surface of the statue that's bioluminescent in a way, and only Saru can see until Burnham does a little UV trick with her fake kind of hologram device. They figure out from this that they need to move the statue and get something from underneath it. Lucky guess, or a smart conclusion to make based on the facts. I don't know, it's up to you to interpret that. There's a device hidden underneath the statue that I guess was put there by the Romulan, I guess was put there by Vellek. And at this point, it's getting hard for me to keep track of this. I thought initially that this was some kind of thing from the Promelians, but it wasn't. It was, I think this is Dr. Vellek hiding these map pieces because he's running this show. He's the showrunner. Dr. Vellek is very much the showrunner here. He hid it under here for someone to find so that presumably the technology he didn't want anyone to get could be found by someone desperate enough to find it, even though if he didn't want anyone to find it. I have to imagine a Romulan a few centuries ago could figure out how to hide it so that no one could find it and then wouldn't leave clues, right? You know, like kind of how, you know, if the criminal always wants to return to the scene of the crime because they want to boast about it, and that's how they get caught. So maybe Dr. Vellek should have been smarter than that and should have said, I got this progenitor technology, I'm going to hide it inside a black hole and then leave no hints. Something like that. That's what would actually happen. But no, see, he's a very, he's a very enterprising and romantic individual who likes to leave clues for people to find things that he doesn't want them to find. And Saru and Burnham do indeed find it. They beam back to the Discovery just before being shot by a statue. And at this exact moment, I swear to you, it's playing some TOS music. I can hear like ba 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 in the background, kind of here. Listen for it. I can hear some kind of jazzy TOS notes, which is helping this episode, since it's otherwise very musically boring. We get back to Discovery, have our debrief thingy on what just happened. An interesting line from Michael is that, listen, we just desecrated some ancient Promelian burial stuff. Send down some dots, that's robots, to go fix it. And I remember thinking, hold on, we desecrated this very old thing, and I understand that. But Dr. Vellek hid that puzzle piece underneath that statue centuries ago. And I remember thinking, at what point does that thing that Dr. Vellek, I assume, put underneath that statue also become old? Like, at what point does that become significantly old? Because I remember thinking, we just stole this thing. Right? We stole it from underneath the statue, and I was thinking, maybe it's hit the point where it's old enough that it's become significant that it's there, and it's become historically important. I don't know. It's just something I was thinking about. It's not really a factor in this review, but it's just something that hit me. I was like, we just stole this thing. To us, it feels new, but it's actually, what was it, like 800 years old? Something like that. Or maybe less. Maybe, it's kind of becoming a part of the decor. Maybe we want to put it back, but we can't because that would be dangerous. Just an interesting little, adventure my mind went on. Sarah is, of course, holding his arm, as you do when you're injured. Oh, I'm holding my arm. That's how you know I'm injured. Stamets sees that and says, I know a doctor. Don't we all? You must be talking about Culber. We're wrapping up our A-plot here. What did we discover? We read this poem. It seems like they're talking about a place with conjoined souls or something like that. Trill. So right off the bat, we know we're going to all the important Star Trek planets. Maybe one's Earth. That might be different or interesting. It'd be cool to go to Navarre. See what's happened there, Get a little update on the sitch. That about wraps it up. Are you along for the ride? Are you picking up what they're throwing down? I kind of am, but this episode ominously feels like, a fetch quest. It feels like a small piece of a larger puzzle where that puzzle piece is ultimately pointless. I'm getting those vibes. Hopefully this doesn't turn into a season where every single day we're just finding a new piece of a puzzle. You can kind of count me mentally out. If that's the case, hopefully these pieces of this puzzle, we can finish it like next episode and then be on to the next thing. That would be cool. The reason why this worked in the first episode is because we found the Romulan puzzle box. We opened it, and inside there was a book. Very cool. So what that means is that our reward was not a puzzle piece. Our reward was a story. Right? Much more interesting than finding a cog to fit in a machine. Who cares about that? Right? The adventure is important. What you do on that adventure, the moments you have, that's what's really going to stick with you. And it's not really going to stick with you if we're just finding another piece of a map over and over and over and over and over again. Just a thought. In our B plot, we have Book. Book is settling into his new digs on the Discovery. Hopefully this isn't going to be a problem with you, Michael, having Book on the crew manifest here. You know your past with Book. Remember last season, Michael? I remember last season. Well, I do too. Hopefully it doesn't cause a problem. That's basically what Vance is saying. And he does settle right in, but the first person he talks to after he comes aboard the Discovery, for what I guess is the whole season, is Culber. Maybe it's like a medical thing, and you have to check in with the doctor to get your checkup and all that. But Culber hugs him, and you can see Book thinks this is strange. And I don't know what I was supposed to take from this. Because Book was giving him the side eye, and I don't know why. And we just kind of get a rundown on what's going on with this, what we see from that book. Book is reading an image from the book that we got from the mind of Fred. So Fred's book is being looked at by Book, and him and Culber are looking at it. I don't know why the doctor is doing this. Why? It just seems like we needed a character for Book to talk to. I know, Culber. Dr. Culber. I'm not sure exactly why that's the case. It seems strange on second viewing. Like we needed another character here. Like maybe it should have been Reno. I don't know. But for some reason he's briefed on the events in the last episode by Culber. Your guess is as good as mine. And what ends up happening here is that he has a dark comms device, a handheld device that he can go to engineering for whatever reason to have Stamets clear the room. Everybody out, you can't see this, so that he can talk directly through this dark comms device to Moll and Locke, and he actually gets them to talk back. And then get this is an important note here. Maybe you didn't notice this, but I noticed this. He's trying not to really say that he's Starfleet. He's talking to these people on an even footing. Like, we're both couriers here. Listen, what do you want for that, diary thing? What do you want? What does Book wants to buy the book? Okay, and maybe they're going to throw the book at him, but they don't really, because they're saying, we got other things in mind. We know how important this is. One wonders how they know that, right? Maybe there's someone else behind the scenes. Book says, you don't want Starfleet, basically saying you don't want Starfleet after you, essentially is what he's saying. But when he says Starfleet, go back and watch this. When he says Starfleet, he goes like this. You don't want Starfleet. And you can see his eyes go like that. If I said, this guy here, you would think that there was a person to my right. Would you not? So if I'm talking to couriers, and I don't really want them to know I'm affiliated with Starfleet, and I want to be, undercover on the down low with this, I wouldn't go Starfleet and then kind of like turn my head like that. I would not do that. But Book does it, which is strange for someone who's supposedly like a lifelong courier into shady business, in a manner of speaking, to just kind of give that away. I'm assuming Moll and Lack can't see the interior of engineering when Book alone is using a hologram projection into their ship. I assume that's what's happening. I don't know. But it did strike me as strange that he turned his head when he mentioned Starfleet. That's a little bit of a faux pas, but that's what we got. So Moll and Lack must officially know that Starfleet is after them, and that little incursion on Kumau was not a one-time thing. So the chase is on, and what did Book learn? Not much. They're not willing to give it away, but he can tell from watching a video of their ship, and the fact that it spun, that's a neat trick. They're in love. And then he longingly looks away into the distance thinking, all they got is each other. They're in love. Kind of like how Stamets last episode looked off into the distance longingly. Spore Drive. I love Spore Drive. Book loves Burnham, and he misses the fact that they used to be just two peas in a pod, alone out there, in the ocean of space. Looks off longingly. Kind of hitting you over the head with it, but something's better than nothing. I must say, at least there's something going on thematically here. Love. Lost love. Being in love with your Spore Drive, and then losing it. Being in love with Burnham, and just being two people on a ship against the whole universe, and then losing that. Maybe that's a possible direction Burnham could go in at the end of the season. One possible ending here is Saru dies, and Michael leaves Starfleet and goes back to be with Book, and they go doing their, not doing their questionable things, right? You never know, eh? We'll see how it plays out at the end. Hopefully you'll be there with me to see it. You can tell immediately when Book sees Moll that he recognizes this person. There's a birthmark on her neck. He uses the computer to digitally de-age her, which, decades ago that would seem insane. But now, the way technology is sometimes, it do be that way, don't it? Technology probably will be able to de-age people. Hopefully it can de-age me and give me my hair back, as a permanent hologram. I need a holographic emitter, just like the Doctor on Voyager, that can give me back hair. That would be awesome. But Moll is someone that Book knows. Moll apparently is the daughter of Book's predecessor. The person he stole his name from or inherited it from. This whole Book thing from the previous seasons of Discovery, that Book is a name for couriers that's handed down, to give a sense of continuity with the past. That's what we're all looking for, right? This is his daughter. So it's kind of close to family. He doesn't have a lot of family other than Burnham. His planet was destroyed. So now he's probably like, okay, we can't kill this Moll character. Are we at odds with the goals of the Federation again, Book? Again? You're finding a way to run afoul of the mission again? I'm being a little bit, presumptuous. We're going to see what happens. But do you believe in fate? Not really. This is Star Trek. That's probably what Culber's answer should have been. But Culber says, oh, it depends. I know her. I know Moll. Her name is Malene. There's your B-plot. Sound boring? It kind of was. But I'm not going to lie. I didn't hate it. Because I could do it with a palate cleanser and aperitif to put in my mouth to get ready for the flavor of the next episode, so to speak. I don't mind some downtime. and I didn't really mind this episode. Thematically, like I said, it's a little obvious. The direction is a little bit on the nose here. We're showing our characters look off into the distance, like this is a play or something, but it's not. It's a TV show, or a movie, I should say, separated into 10 episodes or so. What we're getting here, thematically, is something, which is better than nothing, I will say that. Musically, I could barely hear some forgettable notes of TOS on the planet's surface, but I really had to listen for it. There's really not much going on. Picard Season 3, this is not. Speaking of Picard, we're digging back up Picard stuff here. We're digging back up Romulan society. Romulans. What's going on with Romulans? It's the new aliens we like. Why? Well, we already use Klingons, and Vulcans are everywhere. Who's the next one people know? Oh, Romulans. That's why they're doing it. But if you like it, you like it, and I didn't really hate it. It gives you a sense of continuity, as I mentioned before. This series has continuity with Picard and continuity with TNG. TNG Booby Trap and TNG, well, Arsenal of Freedom in a way. We're being chased by drones, except this time it's left over from Promelians. Those aliens that Picard talked about? I believe he had a model ship of a Promelian vessel in a bottle. You know that thing you do when you put a ship in a bottle, and then it's in a bottle, and you're like, hey, look, I put a ship in a bottle. Oh, great. The ship is in a bottle now. To play with it, I need to smash the bottle. Oh, we all made ships and bottles when we were kids. Making the Voyager in a bottle, and just finishing up the nacelle before something bad happens. Or making a Promelian ship, just like Picard did. Would that Picard were here now to see the ruins of this Promelian, burial planet. Would that he were here. But he wasn't. Plot-wise, this is as bland as you can get. It's just, we need to find the next thing that Dr. Villak left behind so that we can figure out where to go next. Bog standard. But the story, the overarching story here, is one of, like I said, loss, love, what you're leaving behind. That's what's going to matter. The plot is just kind of the skeleton, or the muscles to make the skeleton of the story move, depending on how you think of it. Visually, I'm not going to lie, like the interiors of these ships, other than Discovery, look kind of bland. Like the interior of the Federation looks bland. Home base, in a way, when we're not in the ship, we're at the Federation, looks bland. This kind of like white, gray, drab atmosphere. The CGI isn't looking that hot anymore. I think this is very much a show that they're kind of like, giving up on. Strange New Worlds, for me, pound for pound, looks a lot better. Maybe we're diverting resources to the new Starfleet Academy show. Who knows? But I know Discovery it's hurting. Discovery looks freaking sick in the first 2 seasons, especially the first one. But that doesn't go a long way, right? The story's got to be good. And this story in this episode is ending off with Rayner being introduced as our number 1. Michael's number 1. Saru's gone. Rayner's on. Rayner's going to be coming aboard the ship after getting some convincing from Michael. We do some ship watching. We gaze out the window looking at the Discovery. They don't make them like that anymore. And we get that kind of typical dialogue from Rayner. Someone who, is hanging on by a thread. They're old. Although, who knows how old Rayner could live to. He could be centuries old before he dies. And Michael kind of gives him the talking to. And hey, we believe in second chances. I'm Michael Burnham. I got like 5 second chances. And you're going to get one too. And this is it. And somehow we just kind of bring Rayner aboard after he was, giving his dressing down from Vance. We don't talk to Vance. We don't talk to the president. I don't know why we're allowed to just kind of steal away Rayner. They asked him for an early retirement. I take that as you're not going on any more missions. You're retiring now. That's how I interpret that. But I guess we're meant to interpret that as, just retire when you want to. So Rayner, I guess, is back on the Discovery. We don't talk to Vance, but whatever. I guess, I guess this is fully, in Michael Burnham's wheelhouse here. And we see the last shot of Rayner zipping up his uniform. I remember when they wouldn't really put zippers on a uniform because they thought that zippers would be gone in the future. Do you remember this? Like they would have, we don't want pockets in Starfleet uniforms, so we get pocketless pants and all that. And then in TNG, in the very earliest episodes of TNG, we show someone opening the uniform like this, but without showing the zipper. I kind of interpreted that as hide the zipper with your thumb or something. Like try not to show the zipper because that looks primitive. But here the zipper is on full display. And I know we've seen zippers since TNG, between TNG and now, a lot of times. Come on, of course. But, it's just something I noticed, especially when it's like kind of like your last scene and you show it so prominently, zip, like that. And I remember just thinking, he should touch one of the medals on his neck. It's like that, boop, and the shirt should like just kind of suck together or something. I don't know. It should like automatically fit his body that way. Just a thought. When you're dealing with something in excess of Star Trek, as in the future's future, you can really go crazy with it. You don't need holographic displays that you can see through and get a migraine, and you might not need zippers as well. Again, just something I was thinking. This was Star Trek Discovery, Season 5, Episode 2, Under the Twin Moons. And I'm going to have to go ahead with a basic, not bad, not good, better than nothing, 5.5. It's a bit of a step down, but they can't all be home run hitters now, can they? I'm Lieutenant Mark, and I'm going to see you in a few days when we check out Episode 3 of Star Trek Discovery, Season 5. And I'm going to see you next time I see you. So long, Jolan True.